Hello? Hello? Who's there? Anyone?
It's yeah. It's Brandt. I'm here.
Brandt? Oh, as I pronounce it, Brandt?
Yeah.
I should probably pronounce it the real way someday. But until then, I'm gonna do what I want. Uh, welcome
Awesome.
to the podcast, Brandt. Welcome to Before Extinction, the podcast for artists, by artists, right before the end of the world. Today, we are interviewing Brandt, a video game designer, a good friend, and the inventor of the Jello shot. Brandt, I want to start strong with this interview. I want to start super strong. So tell us, what is your most ambitious video game idea? What is your penultimate goal? What is that distant game that you want to make?
Well, one day I think I've got two answers to this one. Firstly, I'd really like to take my own crack at a multiplayer or party or horror kind of related game.
Oh,
Ideally, mixing the two of them together.
okay. What
And I would
type
also
are we thinking? What's it called? Oh, this would be really good if I could remember any video game ever. Are we thinking PvP, like one person's the monster and they chase the rest of the players? Is it a lethal company where everyone's sort of like banding together against the horrors?
probably more PvP. I'm thinking.
Oh, go on.
Personally, when I've played horror games, anything that's co-op, I can't take it seriously because I'm playing with my friends and we're supposed to be hunting a ghost. I look to my left and they have stolen every single asset this poor guy owns in his farmhouse. So when he comes back to a nice and non-haunted house, there will be nothing in there.
Well, I mean, all the good
So,
exorcists have a fee, don't they?
yeah, it's a rather steep fee apparently, at least with my exorcist, but maybe that's
Family
just me.
photos, the dog's dinner bowl.
Doorknobs, doors
Doorknob.
entirely, chairs, tables, you name it, they take it.
God damn. And this second idea.
Um, I've grown up playing survival sandbox games like Minecraft and Terraria. So one day when I have the money and I come up with the perfect idea, I would absolutely love to make my own rendition of a survival sandbox game. That is my
Gosh.
number one wanted game to make. Maybe
Now,
one day.
with these types of sort of in honor games, these homages to Minecraft, these homages to with Terraria. There's sort of two ways of going about it. Number one, people just try and recreate the experience with maybe a few adjustments that they'd want, like torches light up in your hand. The second type of homage is where they add some form of gimmick. I've seen a version of Minecraft made by a fan where it was four-dimensional, and not only could you move along the Z, Y, and X axis, you could also move across a Q axis and have the world shift around you.
Oh
I've
my
seen a
god.
version of Terraria where instead of playing as a man in a fantasy world, you play as this sort of Play-Doh creature, and the items you can make can range from sort of like prehistoric like stone axes, magical swords, and then like a vending machine. And at least half of the game was about trading stocks. So, with your survival sandbox game, would it be a homage or would it be a recreation?
I definitely think it fits more into the first category.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, when I play survival sandbox games, I love building, but more so I love practical building. In the sense of,
Practical.
I'm not just getting resources to build a pretty nice house. I'm getting resources to build a moat or build defenses or prepare for this next big thing, which keeps me personally very motivated.
Yes, in
Um,
fact, that's a bit of a controversy with Minecraft at the moment. Is that it's as Minecraft becomes more and more popular, and as it tries to advertise itself to a younger and younger audience, they're actually making the game easier and easier. And it's slightly controversial. I mean, the easier the game, the easier it is to access, and accessibility is of course important. But at the same time, you lose a lot of the meaning, or arguably, you lose a lot of the meaning if a game isn't difficult. Like, I remember when I first played Minecraft, the night was terrifying. And so building, like, a really good base was important. Now, you can just kind of get good armor and, like, be attacked by zombies and sort of, what? It sort of feels like an itch, maybe?
Well,
What's
you're not
your...
gonna believe it. You're not gonna believe this,
Oh, yeah?
but my reason for making my own survival sandbox game is I want to bring back the fear of the night.
Yes!
So
Okay.
that's where I was going with this. I want to make a survival sandbox game where you're gathering resources, you're taking, getting bits and pieces to make a fortress to protect yourself from every night. And the cool, I've done a few notes like game design documents and whatnot every now and then. Consistently, the first pillar I write is throughout the entire game's progression, the night will stay a threat.
Oh, okay. So, what is your view on difficulty with video games then? Um, like
Um,
like with hard consequences, like respawning. Should you keep your items in your progress, or should you go back to ground zero? You know, um, or with games such as Hollow Knight and its recent sequel Silksong. Quite a few people get frustrated with the early stages of the game because it is that difficult.
I think as long as the learning curve is good enough and the game teaches you well enough, I think you can kind of go from zero to hero in a second. I think you can go pretty difficult as long as it's pretty clear. You either don't have to do this or how you can survive it or like there's a solution to it. Silksong, now I was like many other stubborn players where I also suffered pretty early on. And I didn't quite realize it at the time, but that was my entire own fault. There
Oh
is
yeah.
you go through the second area, and then there's two like routes you can go before you get to the fourth area. There's basically two third areas in a sense. I won't say any names or anything for spoilers, but one of them is very difficult, but you do not need to go there at all. And the game tries to teach you that by putting a very difficult enemy at the start that's entirely optional and clearly not a boss to try and get you. Oh, I shouldn't be here yet. I'll leave. Um, Turns out most players, including me, did it anyway, thinking, oh, it'll be like a cool item or a weapon or something, or like an
Mm.
upgrade. And then it stays that difficult, and we think it's the starting area. Sucks. What the hell is this? No, you're not meant to be there.
Hold on. Spoilers ahead. Is this the ants?
Yes,
Oh my
I'm
god, I
referring to
did the
Hunter's March
same
in the end.
thing. I did the
Yep,
exact
Hunter's
same
March.
thing.
You're not meant to go there that early on. You can,
Oh,
but
that makes
you
so
like
much sense in hindsight that there's an
like
easier section.
you're meant to pass through again spoilers, I guess, the deep docks and fight through Lace to go to far fields. You don't need to go through Hunter's March at all, but you can.
Oh my god, that would have been so
That's
much
also why
easier
the parkour is so considerably difficult
in the
because
Hunter's
you're meant
March.
to be better. You're meant to be better at the game, or you come back later with like a new crest, and that makes parkour significantly easier.
Oh man. Well, I think that Team Cherry have obviously forgot that some people have a hatred in their heart of failure and
Well,
too much time
yeah,
in their hands. Guess I managed to get
yes,
through that with spite and spite alone.
I did too. Thankfully, I eventually got their message because there's a boss. It's a bit further on, but there's a boss kind of in that general area that everyone hates. I left it because I was nowhere near good enough for it, so I have a very tame experience compared to everyone's raw hatred for it.
Well, talking about zero to hero, Brunt, we live, and you know this, we live in a world with superpowers. Now, I'm not talking about sovereign state. No, I'm talking about laser eyes. I'm talking about super speed. I'm talking about control over the weather and the ability to summon mayonnaise. Brunt, do you feel people are often boxed in and stereotyped by their superpower? For example, a person with X-ray vision is a creep. A person who shapeshifts is insecure about their body. A man with the ability to summon mayonnaise must love mayonnaise.
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, from my experience, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best when it comes to this either. I'll be walking down the street and I see someone and I recognize he's got laser vision, and I'm a little scared for my own sake because what if he gets really pissed off? It triggers, and
Mm.
we've had an accident.
Mm.
I
Mm.
definitely think there's a lot of, I guess, superhero prejudice
Yeah,
out there,
yeah.
especially when it comes to mayonnaise.
Yes, yes. Underrated, honestly. Summon mayonnaise as an ability. I've yet to meet a person who can summon mayonnaise. Brunt, have you ever been stereotyped for your superpower?
Yeah, actually, I kind of have. I mean, when people hear of the superpower of radiation, they instantly think, "Oh no, I'm gonna get like radiation poisoning or something like that." But turns out it's actually really controllable, and they're just kind of fear mongering amongst themselves and thinking, "Oh no, some gamma radiation. This is gonna give me poison. This is gonna destroy the environment. This is gonna kill all trees and squirrels and all other forms of life." It's not actually that bad. It's very controllable.
Wait, you're radioactive?
Yeah. My superpower at birth was dispersing radiation around myself.
Yeah, you've been
Which is a
radioactive.
very interesting one.
You've been radioactive this whole time,
Oh yeah, actually I have.
like at parties, like
Why do
like in
so
public.
why do you think I invented the jelly shot?
to counteract the controversy of radiation poisoning.
Yeah, it actually like gives health benefits.
The
So
Jello
people
shot.
think, yeah, believe it or not, it actually does. So they're sitting here, I'm like, oh no, I just met Brandt. This guy I might have radiation. Firstly, it's safe, so then they don't suffer from radiation to begin with. But also, I've given them a drink with benefits, so they actually have a positive experience from being around me.
Oh, I see. So, being a superhero in this day and age, it's all about, promotion. It's all about how you promote yourself. It's all about how you advertise your superpowers. Radiation's not scary. Have a Jello shot. Gotcha.
Yes.
Well, similarly, the video game industry is the most profitable form of entertainment, making more money yearly than movies and music combined. What aspects about video games do you think draw so much attention? And what attracted you to study video game design?
Firstly, the reason I think it gains so much money to begin with is it's A, interactable, and B, besides maybe HD versions or like some deluxe edition in like a movie or like, getting a vinyl or getting Blu-ray, it is one of the only medias where you can buy multiple things from it at once. One person can spend $20 on the game and another can spend 200,
Hmm.
which is well, I think it's most profitable by a long shot. I personally got into it because I love creative fields and design and whatnot. And games, they've always kind of just been a much more like you kind of get the best of all creative industries in the sense of, books and narratives, movies, like
You have the
shows and all that.
visuals, you have the
You've got the
audio.
visuals, you can get the story, you can get the interactivity. Like
Interesting. Would you say that there's
and,
anything video games cannot do as an art form?
I think it has struggles in the sense of a movie, for example, I'll make it like a comparison here.
Mm-hmm.
Movies, it's a very linear process. You have a start, you have an end, and you control exactly what a person can think and feel when they go through that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For example, a horror movie is a very good example of this versus a horror game. Horror movie, you can build tension, you can build those hints up to the plot twist, and it'll be like very controllable and very consistent between viewers. Games,
Mm.
you have to deal with the player themselves. They might not pick up on the fact that there is a monster behind that tree. They might not pick up on the fact that when they stop walking, they hear a monster stop walking just behind them. So they might just keep going and think, well, this is a very peaceful environment. No, they're
Yeah.
in danger. Whereas a movie, you can do that with cameras, like the camera angle, and you can potentially show something just out of sight.
Yeah.
You can control the sound effects. You can also make the protagonist a lot more stupid or smart than a player is because a player is uncontrollable.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting what you mentioned about the fact that you sort of can't fail at a film unless you just close your eyes and ears throughout the whole thing. Whereas video games, you can miss aspects. You say that, like a film you can't sort of mess up. But what's interesting is, and this isn't global, but some films are now being made to be watched. Well, how to phrase this? Poorly. Obviously, movies used to be an experience. You'd go to the theater, you'd watch it with the big speakers and the big sort of like lights and effects. Um, then they were made for DVD, ported to television, to work on television speakers. But an interesting thing about film and television these days is that one, they're changing the script to suit mankind's shortened attention span, and two, they're also designing the audio so you can hear it better if you're doing dishes in the kitchen, if you're listening to a podcast at the same time. Because a lot of Netflix's viewership comes from people half watching their like films, which is pretty interesting.
I didn't actually know that. I didn't know they were changing to account for that. I kind of thought they were just like, oh, we just have a lot of viewers. In reality, they just had people doing something else at the time.
Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. I just wonder if something similar will happen to video games. Except I do believe that video games might be a little bit immunized from this because it's an active task. You can't.
I was going to say video games, it's harder because you can make a video game for that.
Yeah,
You can make a video game that requires your full attention as well.
yeah. Moving on. As time has gone on, people have been born with weirder and weirder superpowers. Only a couple of generations ago, and our grandparents had all the traditional super strengths and invulnerabilities. Now, with Gen Z, well, they're being born with all sorts of whack superpowers, like the ability to make horses non-Newtonian, to change their skin color to purple but not change it back, to summon black holes every time they submerge fully in a liquid. Brandt, do you think a person one day will be born with the ability to end the world? Should we start removing superpowers from birth? Should we run the risk?
I definitely think one day in the future we are going to, in a few generations from now, maybe even if they get we get some parents and eventually they just have more bizarre parents and that guy gets with a very bizarre person and they make even more bizarre. Eventually, we're going to get someone who has the ability to control their own density entirely and can just make themselves a black hole if they are have a really bad day.
Yeah, yeah. Ending everything in a universe-wide distance. Gotcha. So do you reckon we should start removing powers? Or should we just, gamble with it?
I think there should be some sort of license for your power.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we leave it at that. And we just see what happens. I think it's very fun.
What are some of the...
I just think some people need to have a license to be able to, freely use their superpower, especially if they can control their own density. They should pass a test.
Yes.
That qualifies. This person is allowed to use their superpower in anywhere, I guess.
Yeah. No, I agree with the license for superpower part, especially with these weird superpowers that are coming out. I was stuck in traffic for a while. I finally get to the front of the line, right at the intersection. Light's red, but it's fine. I'm at the front. I'm about to be free. Some kid behind me uses his power to swap the position of cars. Bam, he's in front of the line. I'm now waiting behind him.
Well, that just sucks.
Well, I think I'd be more mad if his superpower wasn't so entirely conditional. Clearly, one, he wanted to skip traffic, but two, I think that's all he can do,
Yeah, I guess that's a really niche power and really annoying. That just sucks.
Yeah, I don't think it's good for anyone involved. Now,
I heard about in the paper a while ago. There was a marathon, right? This big fundraiser event. Everyone was trained and ready to go.
Yeah,
practiced.
Like a sprint, like a marathon.
Yeah, like a good 100-meter sprint.
Yeah.
They had a guy. There was one guy I knew who was banned who had super speed. What they didn't account for was the guy who can make any solid matter into liquid, who proceeded to turn every other lane into basically quicksand and just trapped them in the ground as he just kept running ahead, which was very controversial.
Where's the honor? Where's the honor? Right?
I don't think there was, to be honest, and put a stunt like that. Yeah, that was very obvious. Screw you. I'm going to make the lane quicksand, sink into the ground while I win this and take the charity money.
God. And take the charity money from the charity? Gosh.
Yeah. I heard there was a rumor about that. I'm not entirely sure if that part happened, but I've heard rumors about that. Considering the guy can just make anything he wants into liquid, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, the police gets their taser out. Now it's a puddle in their hands. Jesus.
Well, now they can't do that because he made it a liquid that's conductible and all that. They just shoot They shoot him. He's connected to the ground. The ground's a liquid. They're all electrocuted too.
Oh my gosh! Super villains, man. I can never deal with it.
Scary. See, this is why we need licenses.
Well,
if it was licensed and trained for that.
This is why we might need teamwork. So, moving on to the next question. As a video game designer, what are you most proud of that you've developed independently? And what are you most proud of that you've designed within a team? Follow up, what was the main thing you learned from both projects?
The thing I'm most proud of developing by myself isn't really one thing in particular, and it's a bit broad, this topic, but I'll probably go into more depth.
Go for it.
My consistency, like my ability, or not ability, it's part of the job, I guess, with how few games I've actually released, because I'm a student and I'm like still studying and learning and developing.
Yeah. Not
I've made
time.
I've made at least a dozen, if not more, fully written game design documents, which,
Damn,
if these were good enough
okay.
and had the money and resources, could be turned into games right now.
Oh, could you give us some examples?
I mean, two of them I've already talked a bit about. The idea of multiplayer horror games with an emphasis on party or comedic elements and the survival sandbox. That one in particular has about 5 renditions alone when I've gone through slight changes. Like, oh, how about this area? This area's too bland. Let's change it. What about bosses? Oh, this is too simple. Or what if I go for more creative? We do this, that, etc., etc.
So, when working in a
And
team, is the game design document a key part of the process?
supposed to be, personally,
Oh,
when I've got a
gotcha.
game, I don't mean in a bad sense. With the right team and the right organization and the right, I guess, process of thinking of how they interpret things,
Yeah.
it is a backbone. You need it to know, stay on task, to know what the plan is. What if this thing we're making contradicts, like the plan's pillars, or if this is just too out of scope and we should prioritize on other things that aren't done that are in the GDD.
Mm.
The
Gotcha.
reason I
Okay.
say consistently, oh, we haven't really done it much, is because we all, in my team at least, know exactly what our game is. In uni, I'm referencing
Oh,
uni
gotcha.
here.
You've got someone in your
We
group
all know that
who's.
we have a group. I wrote the GDD and all that. We had another designer who also helped out, and not in a bad sense, but because everyone knows the main idea of what we're making and the core ideas and all like those kind of systems and elements and whatnot. We've definitely scrapped some systems in a GDD, but we've also added a lot that have not conflicted whatsoever. We have not had anything we've added
Wow.
conflict with that, which, from what I've heard, is a miracle.
Yeah. I
But
was about to say, does someone in your group have like the ability to connect people telepathically?
probably, I would not
Probably.
be surprised if they had a superpower like that. But we haven't had anything quite bad happen yet. We've had a few ideas, like I in particular had done this too. We've had ideas that we've seen from like a playtest, and we think, oh, this is a bit of a pivot, but this turned out really well. You bring it
Wow.
up with a team, and they all know the core ideas as well, and they're thinking, oh, this kind of strays a bit too far, and you go, oh shucks, oh well, moving on, and etc. etc. So I've yet to have any problems with that. But I do think a GDD, especially with a new team, or at the very like the pre-production stages and early alpha, it's very important to have a GDD, especially if your team all isn't on the same loop or they aren't super communicative.
Yeah. Just so we can always refer to the pillars, like the main ideas and like the main
Yeah,
priority tasks. Wow, okay, gotcha. Okay. Well, speaking of formulas and formulaic, the superhero supervillain dynamic had its peak in the 80s, Grant. It died down towards the 90s and has slowly made a resurgence. Some think this is a force for good, as it inspires future generations to follow the path of heroism and righteousness. Others are having their Toyota Corollas thrown into buildings. What's your spin on younger generations donning capes and fighting crime?
I think it's a good idea. I think it builds character.
It builds
Back in the
character.
day, in
Yep.
a very, very, very far back, there wasn't really superpowers, but you know what there was? Mother Nature and the winter.
And the
And that was
winter.
a devastating force. Those were devastating natural forces that you cannot control that devastated the land. But what did they do? They gave people, innovation. They gave them ideas. Oh, how do we fight back?
They had
Yeah.
oddly specific superpowers, like the ability to make a coat out of the skin of a dead animal and start a fire out of dead wood.
Yeah, and the ability to like think for themselves. Like it was an interesting time back then. But with hardships and challenges came adversity and strength. That's where superpowers, I guess, come from.
Yeah,
But
I
with
thought they came
younger,
from like a strange meteorite that fell in like the 70s. But like I, I'm prepared to think it's evolution. Get pop off.
yeah, I have no idea where they came from personally. I'd be impressed if evolution 1 minute had monkeys and the next minute had people who could shoot lasers out of their eyes when nothing beforehand could shoot anything out of their eyes to begin with.
Well, actually,
But
there is a type of lizard. I'm not sure where, but there's a type of lizard that can spray
oh,
blood
it's a
out of its
wizard that can
eyes.
shoot, yeah, it's blood out of his eyes. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that is evolution now I think about it, huh?
Yeah. Is there an animal that can summon mayonnaise, or is that new?
Um, I mean, maybe not mayonnaise, but we have animals that can make things like octopi and squid. They make ink.
What do you
Evolution took an interesting turn, and now we have mayonnaise.
what do you need for mayonnaise? Egg and milk, right?
I honestly do not know.
Can a
It.
platypus summon mayonnaise?
Oh god,
Oh God.
that explains a bit.
Yeah. But would you ever become a superhero yourself? Like, what's stopping you from donning the cape and beating up, let's say, some type of mad scientist or someone struggling to, afford food who has to resort to crime?
Legal fees, believe it or not, radiation in an area,
True.
hypothetically,
True.
would not be very controllable.
Yeah.
So I may take him out, but what do I do about the granny whose
Yeah.
kids now have 3 arms and 2 heads?
Yeah.
Like, oh, what do I do? Jelly shots aren't going to help him.
Jelly
And
shots
then
can't
the
ease
legal
the
fees.
pain of uranium burns. I mean,
Well, yeah, what if they can't even take a jelly shot because their mouth has just disappeared, like, or been fallen off? I can't really help them. So
yeah,
here comes the lawsuits and the legal fees,
yeah, yeah.
and it's just the whole
It's
thing,
such a
like a deal.
pain. It's such a
That
pain.
I'm fighting for my life. I'm in call for 4 hours with the government trying to get my license back because
Yeah.
it got revoked because of 3 kids.
Yeah.
Like, skin started glowing. It's a whole ordeal.
It's a whole ordeal. And then, like,
Yeah.
yeah, and then it affects the local water supply, and everything starts glowing
Yeah,
green.
the water's affected, and now the dirt looks red,
And now the dirt
and
looks
now
red.
trees are starting to get questionable, and their shape looks weird, and people think it's a bad omen.
And
When in reality, it was
you got a bunch of
radiation.
radioactive spiders biting people and giving them superpowers.
Yeah, like it's the legal fees. I mean, are terrible. This is why I have to tell people it's a
Mm.
very safe and controllable power.
Yes, radiation is safe and controllable,
Yes.
especially in the hands of a 20-something video game designer who can release an atom bomb at any time of his choosing. Thank
Yes.
God that superpowers exist in our safe world.
Yes.
So, finally, Brunt, what video game genre inspires you the most? What video game mechanic inspires you the most? And which video game creator inspires you the most? Genre, mechanic, and creator.
Okay. Genre, probably horror.
Okay, yes.
Mostly
yes.
horror was a bit complicated because it's not so much the genre itself, but with horror, you need a very strong emotional reaction here. And you can't recreate the feeling of, scared and feeling scared, like fear, like paranoid, things like that. When, for example, modern horror games are aiming towards kids. It's a pretty big thing at the moment.
There has been a shift.
Which-
It started with Five Nights at Freddy's, and since then we've had a lot of mascot horror, which, for the viewers who do not know, mascot horror is a specific subgenre of horror where the horror relies on a specific cartoon character. So as opposed to a slasher, where there's a murderer out to get you, as opposed to an apocalyptic horror where the world is going wonky, a mascot horror would have some form of cartoon creature that comes to life and might actually, now that I say this, is Chucky mascot horror?
I would argue it is now.
It is now.
It's just kind of been dragged into the whole shtick, I guess.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any games, I think.
No,
But
Funko Pops, I
yeah,
think,
this is kind of.
are making a video
Right,
game
oh.
with him in it.
Oh my god, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, they're making a whole game out of Funko Pops, which is goddamn the
Oh,
most
that's news to me.
the most capitalistic string of words. Gosh.
Yeah.
Funko Pop video game crossover. It's up there with Dubai chocolate Labubu. Uh,
Oh, is that real?
yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, I should
But
live under a rock
are
more.
you saying that you're inspired by mascot horror?
Not quite. What I'm inspired by is people who are still trying to be scary in a wave of mascot horror and diluted horror, where no
Mm,
one's kind of really. Also, with the fact of horror, a lot of fear comes from fear of the unknown.
yes.
So it's pretty interesting when you've got mascot horrors are just a prime example. It's the reason I brought it up. Everyone's doing the same thing
Yeah.
in a sense. Gameplay varies, story heavily varies half the time,
Mm-hmm.
but the point is, you get a mascot horror game and you kind of know what to expect. So things don't be as scary because
Yeah.
you know there's going to be a jump scare. You know it's going to be a monster chasing
One
you with this
goofy,
big scary
colorful
thing.
guy with a lot of teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, you played 40 minutes and now you have to pay for chapter 2. Things like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty. What I find interesting is seeing people who trying to like, oh, and there's been a bunch of phrases, not phrases, but like I guess mascot horror isn't the first subgenre to exist. There's a bunch of them.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's interesting trying to see people make scary games again, and they need to come up with something completely original because otherwise it either A is just like something else and
Yeah.
people expect they know what to expect, or B isn't very good in general.
Wow. And you feel like horror is the best genre as a vessel of creativity? It's the most flexible?
I don't know about the most flexible, and I say there's a few genres I just don't play, so I can't speak for every genre here. But with the ones I do play, horror requires such raw emotion in it
Mm.
and like such a strong sense of feeling that it's the most noticeable.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. All right. So, moving on. What video game mechanic inspires you the most? And for the viewers at home, a video game mechanic is a single specific aspect of a video game, typically an ability or way in which it works, such as, for example, Minecraft. Its main video game mechanic is that you can break stuff down into resources and then craft them into other objects that you can place in the world. So, what mechanic inspires you?
I don't know if I have one mechanic in particular. I think I've got a mechanic that used to, I think, inspire me a lot, which was, funnily enough, the Minecraft, or I don't remember the name. I don't remember the term or the name of the game that came before it that it had the idea from. I want to say Infinity Miner, but I'm not entirely sure on that.
Mhm.
But its idea of breaking and placing, it's just like Lego, right? Like
Yeah.
it's such a you can take it anywhere, which people have been incorporating a system like it in so many games since.
Yes. Ark
And it's
Survival
another reason
Evolved
why I want to
comes to
make my own.
mind.
Uh,
Cubecraft.
yeah, you can go as well, so like dumbed down in a sense. You can go really simplistic, like just modular rooms, or just like Clash of Clans as well. Even you could argue, you just get gold. It's a basic economy system. You could just get gold, and then you can build walls and buildings and whatnot. Or you can
Mm.
go really in depth, like Minecraft. Oh, it's not really in depth. It's actually really simple now I think about it. But the idea of you can mold the entire world into anything you want can be really complex.
Gosh. Well, that leaves one last question, which is which video game creator inspires you the most?
Probably Relogic, who
Hmm.
they are the developers behind Terraria. They
Okay.
inspire me the most in the sense of I think they have one of, if not from what I've seen, the best community management and like community I've ever seen. They're really like transparent. They're
Wow.
constantly updating. They've only made one game, even though in my opinion it's one of the greatest. But
They've made
I still like
Terraria and that's
I
it.
viewed it so well. Yeah, like a lot of games, I really love them, but I rarely hear from the developers or I barely care about them. But when I hear
Yeah.
anything about Relogic, for instance, I'm instantly, my ears are perked up and I'm listening just because of how they manage their community.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you, Brant, for coming along on today's episode of Before Extinction. I've got to wrap up now because I'm just, yeah, I'm looking outside and there's some guy dressed in all black with a bunch of skulls over his body, hurling a bunch of purple flames at this one guy in a cape. And no, a few of the flames are coming my way.
Hmm.
So I gotta deal with that. You know how it is. You know how it
Yeah,
is.
all good, man. I understand.
No, but cheers though. Good luck with the radiation. I really think you can sell it in a positive light.
Me too. I think I'll get there. I think I'll get there one day.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you very much. Bon voyage and... Oh god! Oh god! Ah!